Okay, I saw the icon.
Yeah, you're streaming.
Okay. Wow, that was slow. What a delay. Anyway, welcome everybody. This is Lance Luke, Martin Pea. We're going to take a little trip to Barcelona today. And before we get started, this is a National Vanilla Ice Cream Day. Martin said he had ice cream when he was staying at the Hilton over the weekend. So I don't think he should have ice cream today, but anyway, it's weird. It's National Vanilla Ice Cream Day, and it's also National Peanut Butter and Chocolate Day. I don't know who made up these things. They must have had a sweet tooth or something. But thank you everybody for joining us. We're restreaming on Facebook, I think Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and of course we're on our Zoom platform. If you have any questions or comments, if you're on Zoom, you can just put it in the chat or the Q&A, and then other social media posts. If you want, you can hit like and make comments or ask your questions on the various social media platforms. And if we can't get it uh, back to you today, then we'll respond later. I don't know who's monitoring all these accounts, so good luck, whoever it is. Could be Martin, I'm not sure. But
Sometimes.
before I get into this presentation, let me give you the backstory. Prior to the pandemic, my wife and I had a plan to go to Barcelona and uh, go and take a visit to this Sagrada Familia. And then the pandemic hit, and then for 2 years, there's no traveling, right? So all my traveling got canceled, as well as, I mean, you guys have the same issue during that time. And it took me several years to get caught up with all the trips that got canceled. So probably 5 years after the initial appointment that I had to visit the church finally happened. So it was pretty exciting. So 2 months ago, which would have been May, we finally got to visit the area, and we actually booked a cruise, and the cruise started in London. So we stopped in UK, after that France, and then Portugal, Spain, back to Portugal, Morocco, and then ended up in Spain. So when we got off the cruise ship, we spent maybe 3 days in Barcelona visiting different places, shopping, Picasso Museum, and then the ultimate for me was to visit this magnificent piece of architecture, because I've been waiting years and years to actually take a look. And um, so we'll just go right into it. Oh, some people had emailed me saying, this is a Catholic church you're talking about. So if we attend your webinar, do we still need to go to church on Sunday? And the answer is yes, you still do. This webinar attendance does not qualify for you as attending church. So if you're Catholic or you go to Catholic church, you have the option. Usually there's Sunday Mass, but before, people who work Sunday couldn't make it, so then they added on Saturday, so you can go Saturday in lieu of Sunday. But in any case, you have to go to one or the other. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm excited to give you this talk because it took me years to finally get there, and it's the Sagrada Familia. It's a masterpiece of art and architecture, and I'm not only talking about it, I actually visited. Some of you probably visited the place there. I know there's friends that went. There's friends that I have that went to the area, but they did not go inside. And then I had some other friends that actually got to take a tour. So we'll go through a short journey through the history, size, talk about the building permit, and then completion. So this is not like a extensive class or anything by any means, and it's not some kind of travel seminar to get you to go there or anything, but it's just, letting you know my experience and what I thought of the place and all that. So, brief introduction, Sagrada Familia, it's actually, it means Holy Family. And I've been to Rome, visited the Sistine Chapel and all the other buildings and all that, but this one is a little different, although it's similar. It's a Catholic church. And the reason why this building is so important is not only because it's the size, but it's the architecture, and a lot of people consider it a work of art. Although it's a place of worship, it's actually a work of art. It's listed on the UNESCO list, the World Heritage Sites. And I just threw in a picture of me um, 2 months ago standing on the street corner with the big church in the background. And just to let you know, the church is still under construction. When we got there, there's numerous tower cranes, and it's not for decoration. It's sort of like if you live in Hawaii and you're in Kaka'ako and you see all those tower cranes and they're lifting building materials up and down. Same thing in Barcelona. It's just happening, and you can hear all the noise from the street of the construction site. So because of the construction going on, there's zones that are blocked off. So I couldn't enter those specific zones because it's an active construction site, for safety and all that. But let's continue on. Very important. Um, the construction actually started in 1882, and you might wonder, well, geez, how come is it that big that it's not finished yet? Well, the reason why it's not finished yet was because basically two main things. They ran out of money, and they didn't get a building permit. So these were the holdups in the finishing construction. And from my research, they're not dependent upon the Catholic Church giving them money. They're dependent upon their own fundraising and different ways to raise funds. So it's the largest unfinished Catholic church in the world. It's probably the biggest too. Designed by this architect, Antoni Gaudi, in 2005, his work was added to an existing 1984 UNESCO World Heritage Site, works of Antoni Gaudi. And this guy is famous, and it's interesting because he's not just a traditional architect that just drew stuff. His idea was to employ modern traditional Gothic styles, showcasing his vision, and threw in modern stuff. It's all mixture. That's why when you see it, it looks kind of like a hodgepodge of not your traditional church with a steeple and a gable roof and that kind of thing. And there was a lot of recognition for his work. And the story about him was he was not only an architect, but he was involved in ceramics, stained glass, carpentry, and then wrought iron. Um, putting together wrought iron, soldering the wrought iron and all that. So, and then of course other things. So, um, it's interesting because when you first look, when you first get to like the area and you look from the way the sun was shining, it sort of looked like it was like they were building this huge monstrosity thing out of mud. It looked like there was like adobe Pueblo building and all that. That's the kind of color it looked like, and even the texture. Um, so it was kind of strange looking at first, but um, my wife and I stayed at this like five-star hotel uh, in Barcelona, which was like across the street from, they call it the Forum. It's like a huge shopping center. So we caught a taxi all over, and from where we were, you couldn't see the building. But then as we got closer, I saw the top, the steeples, and I started getting excited, like, oh, we're finally, getting to visit. So here's a picture of the architect Gaudi, and his main one of his main jobs was like constructing this church, and he wasn't the type, most architects they get a pen and paper and then he start drawing stuff, right? He really wasn't that type. He would actually build these 3D models instead of doing the pen and paper and drawing windows and all that. He would actually construct these models. So when I went on the tour down in the basement, they had all these different 3D models and stuff to look at. And I mean, you don't know how much work goes into designing something before it's even built, and especially something this huge. So remember, beginning in 1882. Okay, so I don't want to bore you with all this, like this is a university class, but let's just go through it. Um, Gaudi was known as the God's architect because he would design all this elaborate churches, right? His main goal in life was an architect, right? Um, 7 of his works were declared World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. Um, he employed Gothic and Oriental techniques and art. He his calling was like he wanted to blend a lot of his design in nature, religion, different use of crafts and techniques. So um, construction actually started under a different person, and then a year later, Gaudi took over as a lead architect, and then he died in 1926. So when he died, the Sagrada Familia was not finished yet. And then they had the Spanish Civil War, and then construction stopped for about 3 years. And then it took a while before there was a regrouping. So in 1952, construction started again. Of course, all you guys watching, this is all before your time, right? You guys aren't that old. Well, maybe Martin was born and then construction started. Um, and then, the Pope consecrated the church, Pope Benedict, in 2010, even though the church wasn't even completed. So what's happening currently is still under construction, and the estimated completion is year 2026. Now, I did not book my ticket to go in 2026 because I'm not sure it's really going to be finished by then, but we'll see. Okay, I'm hoping it will. They're working tirelessly. Um, Look at, if you can see this image, look at the details and the design. I mean, when I was standing in front, and I it took me a while to look at every single thing because there's all these little statues that are, built in, and there's so much to look at from the outside. I mean, it just looks like a massive building, but if you look closer, there's all these different details, and it's not really the same like the statues. If you look at the faces and the clothes, it's not the same. If you look at the design where the windows are, it's similar, but um, there's a lot of different faces, and a lot of the faces are Oriental faces, believe it or not. So, um, it's every one of the design elements has some kind of symbolic significance, and I didn't really bother to research every single one, but there's many books and historical archives about all this. So by the time they finish it, they'll probably have tons and tons of information in various books, probably like a whole encyclopedia set. So some of the details of design, like architectural style, they call it like Gothic and Art Nouveau blend, or whatever that means. The Sagrada Familia combines Gothic architectural's tall, pointed arches and intricate designs with the Art Nouveau's organic flowing elements that are supposed to be similar to nature. So if you're out in nature, there's trees and movement and all that, and that's the whole idea. Um, there's a lot of towers. There's actually 18 towers shooting up, and I mean, if you're standing on a street, it looks really high. You get a sore neck looking up. And the facades is actually from the churches, three grand facades, which are known as the Nativity facade, the Passion facade, and then the Glory facade. I couldn't walk around 360 because they had cordoned off one area due to construction. They're moving, a lot of construction, heavy construction equipment and all that. But I could see most of what I needed to see. And then the outside is like super monumental. When we got there, we actually booked a tour. And when we got there, there was already thousands of people hanging around. And I'm like, oh, if we gotta wait till all these thousands of people get in, we're we're, we're not going to get in for a couple hours. But fortunately, when you book a tour, you get in fast, right? All these people who didn't book a tour, they have to wait in line, and they don't get like a VIP entrance. So, um, that's just a little takeaway for you if you plan on being there. And then I didn't know, but you wait in the line, right? You're in a tour. We still have to wait in line. So we get inside, and it's like you're going. It's like you're in an airport and you got to go through TSA. That's what it looked like. They have to search all your bags, your backpacks, your jackets and whatnot, and you have to still go through that machine, right? So everybody had to do that. That's why it took a long time to get in. And then once you get in, you're on the outside, you're inside the area, but you're not inside the church. And then our tour guide, it seemed like we had to go through this tunnel or whatever, and then finally get to the main area. So the interior columns look like trees and branches. It's interesting. It looked like a forest. So if you're inside the main church and you look up, it's like you're actually in a forest, and that, I guess that's how the feel of it was. And a lot of light was coming in because they had a lot of stained glass, and so it was, they had like chandeliers too, but I think if they turned it off, it would still be really bright on the inside. Okay, and then they had a lot of lights, different colors. And if you're standing there and when the sun moves, the stained glass actually looks like it changes colors and stuff during the very short time. The other thing too is it was a cloudy day and the clouds outside were getting darker and darker. So we're standing inside the church and the sun's shining. All of a sudden, there's no sun. There's a lot of shade because I guess the clouds cover up the sun. Then you look at the stained glass and the colors are different from when the sun shines through it to when there's no sun. Um, I'm not sure if they did that on purpose or that's just what happened, but because I took a lot of pictures, I took when the sun was shining, and then I took some of the same window when the sun was blocked, and I looked at my photos after, and I realized that the colors were different. So size and dimensions. There's the current number of towers, like I mentioned. They're still building it. The interior space is huge. I mean, if you ever been to the NBC after concert, the NBC fits like 6,300 people. The inside of this church fits more than that. It could fit up to 9,000 people. So can you imagine how big it is? So the existing towers, there's 8 completed towers, 4 on one nativity facade, 4 on the passion facade, and then each dedicated to the different apostles of Jesus Christ. That's why when you look outside at the statues, the faces are all different. The clothes are kind of similar, but it's different. And Central Tower is dedicated to Jesus Christ, and it stands at 564 feet, which is super high when it's completed. And so it's the tallest religious structure in the world. And that's why it's so well known worldwide. So the total towers, when complete, the Sagrada Familia will have 18 towers, including 1 specifically for Jesus Christ, 4 for the evangelists, and 1 for the Virgin Mary surrounding the central tower. So as you can see, this whole thing was really planned and thought out. Okay. So architectural completeness, the towers heighten the structure and completed symbolic representation of the Christian Holy Family and biblical features. Interior space and capacity, uh, dimensions 148 feet high, accommodates around 8 to 9,000 visitors within the interior space. And it probably looked like that because when we're in the main area of the church, it looked like there was probably 8,000 people there, with room to spare, but it was pretty packed. And then the interior, of course, like I mentioned, looked like trees. And the church was designed, the columns are designed to support the roof. And so when you design the column to look like trees, of course, that's, more added design and all that. But engineering wise, the church was so huge, and I was wondering how can they design it to like withstand on its own and any earthquake or anything that happens because of the bigger the area that of the building, the more complex the design is because you have to make sure that it's designed structurally so it doesn't collapse on its own weight or fall over during an earthquake or a hurricane or whatever. Building permit issues. If you're located in Hawaii and you think your building permit took long because you waited 2 years, how about this? It took many years, okay? In 2019, that was a year that the building permit was officially obtained, 137 years after construction began. So if you're still waiting for a permit for your house addition and it's been 2 years, well, good luck, but then it's a good thing you're not in Barcelona, waiting over 100 years. Okay, so I mean, there was a lot of politics going back and forth, but whenever you have like the Roman Catholic Church is pretty strong in politics as well too. I'm not sure whether that had some play in this whole thing or not. So talking about permits, so the building first started in 1882 with a permit, but because they kept changing the design and adding on more and more stuff, um, and the Barcelona city, they had different urban expansion and planning issues. So whenever that happens, your original permit, if you took too long, expires, and then you have to go in for a new building permit. It's the same thing building, anywhere else, especially in the US. If you get a building permit and you take too long and the zoning changes or the use changes, then you have to start from scratch, right? So there's a lot of regulatory challenges. So over the years, the bureaucratic hurdles hindered the construction. And then the other thing was after Gaudi died, um, they decided that the permits were all no good anymore, right? So permits were invalidated under the new urban law. So they kind of use that as an excuse. Hey, your main architect died, you don't have anybody to take over, and we passed new city zoning regulations and all that. So it's not like anything goes anymore. Okay, so in 2019, the Sagrada Familia trustees finally got the permit from the Barcelona City Council. Um, it was kind of rough because everyone knew that this was a huge tourist attraction, so it needed to be finished, right? And then also, uh, it's on the UNESCO list, so these kind of things helped out. So let's talk about the timeline of construction and the different phases. So as you can see, um, I don't know if you guys ever saw like a ground termite mound. It looks sort of like these towers, especially in like Africa or something like that. Um, that's why I thought, well, it kind of looked like mud. Uh, so here's a recap of the timeline of the construction phases in 1882 to 1926. So the under the direction of another person, he first started it. This guy Francisco de Paula del Villar, and then Antoni Gaudi took over in 1883. So uh, let's fast forward 1926 and 1950s. The progress slowed after Gaudi's death because they didn't have any money, right? And I don't know what happened to his workshop. He had this huge workshop where he had all these scale models, and um, something happened. I don't know if there was a fire or something that got destroyed. And then from 1950s to 2000, construction slowly resumed when they got, more funds. And then there was a whole bunch of new architects that came in to interpret Gaudi's original ideas. So there was a lot of papers, scale models, and all that. The new architects had to study and talk amongst themselves and discuss. Well, I think he meant this. Oh no, I disagree. I think his idea was based on this. So it took back and forth, and then they, finally came to agreement. And then in around the 2000s, the technology came in and they started using CAD, which is a computer-aided design. And then also to manufacture some building materials, they used high-tech technology rather than old style like they did in the 1800s, in the late 1800s. So I got to take a look at the paper plans that were drawn by a computer. And I mean, there's a lot of pages. And remember, they didn't have this in the old days. So it's like they had to basically do construction based on looking at a scale model and measuring things. So, what's the current status of the project? Well, recent milestones include completing several towers, Central Tower, the main one dedicated to Jesus Christ, that's currently under construction. When we had the COVID, okay, construction actually stopped during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, but then it resumed after that with new safety protocols. So um, it probably was okay that I couldn't travel because they stopped construction anyway during that time. And I think they basically boarded up. So even if I could fly to Barcelona, I probably couldn't have gotten in. I probably could have gotten in, but I couldn't have probably seen what I wanted to see. So the completion date, the target is for 2026, which is like only 2 years from now. But the reason why they picked that date was it's going to be 100 years after the death of Gaudi, and so that they're trying to shoot for that as like um, dedication to Gaudi and completing the church in his memory. So actually, that's the primary reason. So, like I mentioned, 2026 is the completion date. After that, I'm not sure what the plans are, but if you can see this image, right? This is in the heart of Barcelona, and look how huge this tower is. It's like, it's really sticking out. It's sort of like if you go to Disneyland and you start walking, and all of a sudden you see this magic castle there sticking out. But um, and you can actually see the top of this church from miles away, depending on your vantage point. So this is the highest building in Barcelona, and I don't think from now, I don't think there's going to be any buildings higher than that, especially in that area. Now, they could probably be in other areas like financial district and all that, high-rise office buildings and maybe condos. But for right now, it's like, it's you can't miss it. It's just sticking out. And for a reason. And I think the architect planned it that way. He knew, all these buildings were a lot smaller, and he wants to build this big monstrosity to make a statement, right, for the Catholic Church, right? And so it's a big statement, and it's pretty awesome to go there. Even if you're not into religion, it's just pretty awesome to go there and just see the building itself, right? As I mentioned, estimated completion is 2026. So the future plans, Cultural and Religious Center, they want to use the church to host like major ceremonies and kind of use it as a global pilgrimage site. The other thing is tourism and community engagement. This includes improved visitor facilities and possibly a museum detailing its construction history and Gaudi's methods. They do have like a little small area, which is sort of like a museum, but um, I think they need a separate building, and they should call it the museum, and then they could have like photographs and scale models and all that. I think that would be really a good idea. And then for architecture and artistic exhibitions, I think they could do the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of information sustainability initiatives. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that um, I think would be good. Sorry, I'm not sure why this slide got cut off at the bottom, but cultural and tourism impact. The role of Sagrada Familia in Barcelona's culture and tourism. This is probably the number one uh, site to visit in Barcelona. Even if you like shopping, um, even if you're not Catholic, even if you don't have any religion, this building is pretty spectacular just to look at. So um, there's millions of visitors that come here just to look. And when I was inside, there was well, the majority of the people were taking pictures. So I mean, that's how you could tell it was like a kind of touristy thing. Cultural impact, iconic symbol. It's the symbol of Barcelona's cultural identity. When people say, "Hey, have you heard of Barcelona? What do you think Barcelona is known for?" And a lot of people say, "Yeah, that big church, whatever the name is." You know, they might not know the name, but they know that the church is there. Uh, a cultural hub. It draws both locals and tourists into its spiritual and cultural orbit. In fact, when I was on the main floor, I didn't know this. Okay, I kind of like quietly walked away from my tour group just to look around. The altar area was blocked off, but then there was this window, and I go, "Oh, I wonder what's down there." And I looked through the window, and there was a whole nother floor below the main floor, and there was a mass going on. And I'm thinking, geez, oh, I didn't see any entrance to get down there. So it's a secret passageway for the local people, I guess, to go to church. That's where they go to church because the main floor was a tourist attraction. Of course, they have services there too, but not not all the time because every day is like a lot of tourists. So it's a high tourist attraction, attracts almost 4 million visitors every year. 4 million, I mean, that's a lot. The impact on local tourism, well, it helps. It helps boost the local tourism, supports thousands of jobs. So right now, it's supporting all the construction workers and all the workers who participate and do anything um, that has to do with the church. For instance, if they work uh, down in the basement, right? Um, Getting all the materials together for the museum. Okay, that's a job. There's a gift shop, and they hire workers in the gift shop. That's another thing. So, and then, the admission fee, all the people that work in the security and the not just walking around security, but the security to get in, like a TSA agent and all that. So it's good, right? It's good for the economy. So take a look at this. This photo was taken from a drone looking down, and it looks kind of strange. It almost looks like some kind of a sea anemone or something in the ocean. But you can see the tower crane. And then so this is if you look at the photo, this is from the inside looking up. And they look strange actually, but so I would recommend if you haven't been there before, at least go check it out if you're interested in looking at buildings or being a tourist or whatever. You don't have to stay all day. It only takes a couple hours. If you go on a tour, if you go on your own it may take all day because of the number of people that are there. So I'd recommend if you're interested, um, go on a tour. It's like half a day. And then if you're into shopping, there's tons of shopping. There's all kind of other good things. So basically, that's my little talk about the Sagrada Familia. Um, oh, by the way, if you do go, okay, here's a heads up. You cannot get out of the church unless you go through the store. It's sort of like Disneyland or Universal Studios, whatever. You go on the ride or whatever. Oh, how do I get out? Okay, here's the way. And then boom, before you leave, you you have to walk through the gift shop, the store, right? So it's one of those things, and it's all designed that way on purpose, right? So if you do go there, go on a tour, and then there's a gift shop. So if you're interested in souvenirs or whatever, um, that's a good time. By the way, I got a souvenir. Uh, it's a Sagrada Familia keychain. I think I paid like $18, whatever. So I bought it especially to give away as a prize. We're going to do a drawing later. We're going to put down names of all the people who attended this webinar. Okay. Um, but it has to be during the time of the live webinar. You can't like add your name next week. Okay. So we're going to take names. We know when this live webinar is going to end. So all the names that are on our Zoom platform, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you guys are automatically included, but you gotta put in something like, okay, how about this? In like on Facebook, okay, you not only click like, but in the comments you put keychain. Okay, same way with LinkedIn and YouTube. If you put keychain, then we'll match it with your name. We'll gather all the names and we'll do a drawing. It will notify you, and then we'll get the keychain to you. If you don't live on Oahu, you live elsewhere on the mainland, or I know some people are on this webinar from Italy, Portugal. We'll mail it to you. Okay, so there's going to be a winner, guaranteed. And sorry, I forgot to grab the keychain to show you, but it's one of the high-end ones. It's not the cheapy, you know, Barcelona tourist keychain. Okay, so um, hopefully you guys have time to do that. I'm gonna open it up to the Q&A. Let me go to this one. By the way, thank you for watching, listening, attending. This is part of our Ask the Building Expert series, but I usually talk about construction and buildings and all that, but I decided to digress and talk about this, which is important to me, especially because I just came from there a couple months ago. And you can't, I mean, if you live in the US, you can't drive there, right? So it takes a lot of effort to get on an airplane, go from Honolulu to New York, right? Which is like 8, 9 hours, and then hop on another plane from New York to Paris, I think. I forget where we went. No, we went to London. Yeah, so New York to London. And that's another trek, right? So by the time you get there, you're all like tired already. So you need like one day to recuperate. But well, not me. I'm excited. I just, even if I'm tired, I want to go out and check things out. So thank you very much. Those of you who are not watching live, you can always watch the replay. We're gonna on Facebook and the other like LinkedIn, the streaming is there for you to watch. We're also recording, so you can go to our website and watch the recording of the webinar. So let me go back to the Q&A, and then Martin, are you monitoring the chat? I got a message that there was some messages on there.
Yeah. Well, you can, if you can see the Zoom, what's the thing? Hands up, Zoom chat. There's questions in there, and there's also the Q&A questions. So you see,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So I clicked on the chat. Hey,
Yeah.
Gail, good to see you. So Gail's saying, been to see Sagrada twice, did not see everything. In your opinion, do you think they will complete construction in 2026? The answer is I don't think so. Only because in my experience of managing construction projects for 40 plus years, it's hard to complete on time and within budget. And this project is so huge, it's massive. There's a lot of different moving parts. If I was a project manager, construction manager on this project, and you asked me the same question, I would say, you know what? I don't think they're going to finish on time. And anything could go wrong. You could have a shortage of building materials. Maybe somebody goofed up on some engineering thing and we got to redo it, change orders. I'm not sure if they have all the money to complete it. So there's a lot of different moving parts. So that's probably why I didn't book my flight yet. I mean, if I was guaranteed that it was going to be finished, I would like to see the finished product, but um, who knows? And I don't have to be there. I was thinking, hey, it's exciting, grand opening. I want to be there, but then there's going to be like so many people there. I figured I'll just wait. So I'm not in a rush. I can wait until, years later after completion to go and take another visit. So that'll be good. And then the same Gail puts in chat, I would like a keychain. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure Martin would like one too. But hey, we got to do a drawing. We got to be fair. Um, and then Gail asks, can you do another webinar highlighting Casa? Well, is it Batillo? Something. Anyway, I'm not sure. If I'll do a webinar, but I'm not sure if I went there or not. I gotta I gotta go through. I can do a webinar on all the shopping. That's like by the way, I forget the name now, but in Barcelona, uh there's this like there's these streets, right? One way, the other way, and there's a medio strip. And the medio strip is is like a huge sidewalk. And I swear it's like a mile longer and they're still building. And they have all these kiosks. And to me, that was the best part to me. I rather walk and look at a different kiosk than go to the Mercado Market, which it's huge and it has like everything, flowers, meat, nuts. I mean, everything you could possibly think of to buy at like a grocery store, it's there. Wine, cheese. They had like legs of sheep hanging up. You could buy a sheep leg, or I don't know. It was and tons of fish and all that. So it was like a Oahu market in Chinatown, but like 100 times bigger. And there's different levels too. So okay, so okay, I returned from Barcelona in April 2024, and our previous trip was 2019. I was surprised in 5 years that 5 additional towers had been completed. So fingers crossed. This is from Gail too. Wow. That the final tower will be completed in 2026. 100th anniversary of Gaudi's death. Thanks, Lance. Okay, wow. Hey, maybe you can buy a ticket for Martin and I. We can all go together. Uh, I know a good hotel to stay at. It's really classy. Okay, so thank you, Gail. Uh, let's see. Oh, that was a Q&A, not the chat.
Yeah,
So,
that's a Q&A. Yeah. Yeah. But
yeah.
we have some questions on Facebook. I can share with you.
Okay,
Let me, let
go
me,
for it. Let let me stop share here. Oh, by the way, I didn't include the slide, but if you guys are interested in any other of our other webinars we've given, or if you want to watch the replay, or your friend missed this one, you go to our website, askbuildingexpert.now.site, and we got like close to 100 webinars we've given, and it's all free. You don't need a Netflix account. But I would say, pop some popcorn and stuff, get some snacks ready. So let me stop share and let's tackle the other questions.
All right, you ready? This one is from Christy on she's this on Facebook. She's asking Lance, you mentioned that some of the faces on the statuary are Asian faces. Why is that? Were there Asians working on the construction of the church?
Um, there was some kind of influence from
Is that Asian architects?
or, but no, I don't know. I think it was the workers or some interaction between Asia and Spain. Yeah.
Mm.
You know what's weird? Sorry. Somehow my stop share is not working. Can you still
What was that, Lance?
see me?
Yeah, yeah. You're on. You're on.
Oh, okay, because my
Oh,
stop
you're talking
share.
the screen share. Oh, okay. You're talking about stopping the screen share. Yeah, I mean you're still on the Zoom. It just has
Okay,
your
I
Q&A
cannot.
page.
Yeah, somehow my PowerPoint I can't pick it. Something happened. But anyway, let's continue the questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that was Christie's question. She had another one is, Lance, do they allow you to take photos of the interior of the church? I know there's limits in some of the Roman ones, yeah, where you kind of take pictures and all that. So,
Yeah, let me tell you this story. So we walk in the church, right? So we're in the main church area, and the security guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, take off your hat." So I like, "Oh, sorry." And then my wife goes, "Hey, what's the matter with you?" And when you're outside in the hot sun, so we're wearing hats, right? And you walk in and it's like cool, and I don't normally wear a hat, right? So I forgot I had it on. So I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. The same thing happened to me in Rome at the Sistine Chapel, where the security guy came up to me and he just pointed to my head, and then I'm like, oh, what's wrong? And then oh yeah, I'm wearing a hat. So I took it off and, put it in my backpack. So I know what the rules are. I just like forgot. But in answer to the question, yeah, you're allowed to take pictures. You're allowed to take as many photos as you want. I took tons of photos. Um, in the past, I had two digital cameras. I don't even take the digital cameras anymore. I just use my phone, my iPhone. So I got like 40,000 photos in my phone. Not all of them is from this church, right? But I took enough, and I got tons of photos that I could look at to choose, which was I was going to show some of them on this webinar, but I decided I didn't want to bore you. This is not like a my family vacation kind of thing. But yeah, you're allowed to take photos, and um, but just a heads up, on this particular property you are, but if you go to different museums, and we went to Paris, the Louvre, and all that, and you're not allowed to take pictures in some museums at all. You're not allowed. Some will let you, but you can't use flash. Okay,
Mhm.
some you can't take any photos at all. So it's hard to figure out like what the rules are. So I normally ask, like when we went to Kensington Palace in London, I had to isolate at the front.
Oh, gee, did we lose Lance? Where'd he go? I think we lost Lance. He got disconnected. Come back, Lance. Well, looks like Lance has been disconnected. Let me see if I can reconnect him. Well, I'm trying to get him back, but he's not coming back.
This is Lance Luke. Please leave a message so I can call you back. Thank you.
Hey, Lance, you must be cut off. Did you have a power outage on your side? Um, Looks like I'll have to close out things for you here on our Sagrada Familia webinar, but appreciate everybody being here and look forward to seeing you again on our next webinar. So mahalo and aloha. And thank you for joining Lance on this special showing of La Familia Sagrada. Aloha.